Good morning, church. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? We're great. We're good. Well, however you are doing, whether you're good, great, or even if you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. I'm tired. I've got things to do. It's cold outside. Because you know what? That's allowed. It's okay. However you are doing, welcome to Wellington Square United Church. My name is Nick. I am one of the ministers here, and we are an inclusive church in the heart of Burlington. And what we are all about is coming together to connect with God, each other, and ourselves, and transform our lives and this world back into the one that God made it to be. Lives of hope, joy, peace, and love, and a world of justice and harmony. And we do that in all kinds of ways, but this is one way we do it, is by coming together each and every day for church, for a Sunday service. Now, before we get into all of that, a few things just to let you know about in case you've forgotten, or maybe you're new. Bathrooms, just out this door. Just follow the signs and you can find the ones that you need. If you have just gotten here and you need a cup of coffee, we have an amazing team that makes a whole bunch of coffee for you, and there's some right outside that door. Feel free to get up at any point in the service and just help yourself to that. I am someone who needs something in my hands, like at all times, and if you are one of those people too, do that. If you are in worship service and you're like, I don't feel like singing today, cool, don't sing. Or if you're like, I just want to belt it out, do that too. We want to make space and room for everyone to engage and participate in the ways that they need to. And so do what you need to do. All we ask is that you be open, is that you be intentional, and that you show up here knowing that this is where we need to be today. You don't need to be in what's next. You don't need to be in tomorrow. All you need to do is be here. And we trust that God is already moving in us and around us, and we'll leave here with something that we need. Maybe a bit of rest, maybe a bit of grace, maybe a kick in the butt, maybe a inspiration. But we trust that God is going to meet us in this place and do something beautiful, and we'll leave here a bit more alive than when we showed up. But knowing we've come from all kinds of places, knowing we've got a lot going on this morning, we're going to begin with a meditation, a chance just to slow down, to crank it down to like the first gear maybe, and just be still for a bit. Because as we talked about a couple weeks ago, we don't do stillness very well. We're always on the go, we're always thinking about stuff, and any moment we have, we feel like we have to be productive with it. But that's not at all the way that Jesus teaches us to live. We're supposed to be human beings, not human doings. And sometimes it's really nice just to rest. And so we're going to begin with a video, a meditation. And so I invite you just to put your feet on the ground, get comfortable, take a big, deep breath. And let's remember that we're not alone in this place, but that here in us and around us is the very presence of Christ, this presence of grace and love and peace, this guide to life as it's meant to be. And so as we begin our time this morning, may peace be with you.
I rest in you, O God. I am in your safekeeping, body and soul held in peace. My heart cries out to you, my God. All that upsets me, you see. All that disturbs me, you understand. Only here in your presence am I fully known. I am wrapped in grace. I rest in you, O God. I am in your safekeeping, body and soul held in peace. try to relax, but anger rattles me. I try to relax, but my feelings niggle at me. Be still. Be silent. Put your trust in the Lord. I rest in you, O God. I am in your safekeeping. Body and soul held in peace. In the stillness, the light of your face shines. My heart turns to thankfulness and is glad. I have more than enough. You, Lord, are more than enough. I lie down to sleep, safe and sound. I rest in you, O God. I am in your safekeeping. Body and soul held in peace. Be still and rest. You are held in peace.
And so knowing there is peace within you, that you are loved and accepted just as you are, no matter who you love, no matter what job you have, no matter what you failed at this morning, you are enough and that you belong here. And so may you feel a sense of peace in here. But because we are an inclusive space, a place that makes space for everyone to belong, we take some time right now to create some peace around us. And this is the part of the service where we invite you to greet your neighbors. And we know for some of you that's a lot. And you're like, nope, no thank you very much. And that's cool. If that's not for you, just stay seated and we'll respect your space. But if this is for you, if this is something that can bring you into connection, we do encourage you to greet the people around you and take some time to create a space of radical peace and belonging. And so, my friends, may peace be with you. Let's say hi to our neighbors.
Wrap up all those great passing the pieces. I know September can be full of all kinds of new challenges. Sometimes we can feel like we're in deep waters. Sometimes we're navigating new relationships. Sometimes we're stretching into new growth courses. Sometimes we're just trying to create momentum toward a goal. Sometimes
And let's bow our heads and start with a prayer. And so God, like we just sang, we know that we are not alone. Even in those moments that feels like it, we know that you are with us, that the people around us are with us, and that gives us a sense of peace and courage. And so this morning we give you thanks for that you have shown up here. And our prayer is that we leave here a bit more alive than when we showed up. So continue to move, continue to speak, and may you do your thing. And we ask this in Jesus' liberating name by saying together, Amen. So one of the big things that we try to make room for in our church community is the stuff that's going on in the world around us. And always trying to find that link between what is happening out there that we should be talking about in here. Because I'm a big believer that everything is spiritual. That if faith had nothing to do with the outside world, that if it had nothing to do with how we live and move and have our being, then, I'd rather be getting brunch right now. But we're here because this stuff matters. And not only lets us experience grace and peace, but it shapes how we see everything. And it adds context, it adds weight. And there are certain things that happen in our world throughout the year that seem secular, like unchurchy, but actually have like this profound spiritual weight. And one of those things is coming up this weekend. It's the International Day of Peace. And the International Day of Peace is a UN holiday that asks for a 21-hour ceasefire and the end of conflict and violence. And the hope is it gives people a chance to catch their breath. And in that breath, they can realize, oh, this is not worth it. This is not how we're supposed to live. This is not how we're supposed to be. There's got to be a better solution than war and violence. That's a profoundly spiritual concept. This idea of taking a moment to catch our breath and realize, oh, we're out of whack. This is not how we're supposed to be human. This is not how the world is supposed to be. And we find a different way to live. And so in honor of our International Day of Peace and that truth that's embedded within it, we're going to do a litany this morning. And that's a churchy word for when we say one thing and then you respond back. And what this is both a lament, but also a call to action. And the idea is through it we can have caught our breath. And we can say no to those ways and forms of violence that are going on within us, that are going on around us. And we can be agents of change. We can be the peacemakers that Jesus calls us to be. And so I invite you to say this with us. You're going to be in the bold. And even if it's a bit weird for you to say out loud, even if you're like, ooh, I don't like that, that's probably because it's doing something. It might be a truth that you need to say out loud and go to work within you. And so knowing that peace and justice are at the heart of who we are, I invite you to say this along with me and Peggy. And again, you're going to be in the bold. So let's say this prayer together. And so God, come and hear our pain. Come near and hear our complaints. We hear evil and injustice proclaiming we have won. Our arms are hanging limp at our sides, and our tears, they cannot stop. Make us brave enough to stand up and name evil and injustice for what they are, a thief and a liar. In your mercy, make all things new again.
Give us hearts that roar back at the acts of violence in and around us. May we be dedicated to the common good instead of our own comfort and safety. May we learn to place those who are hurting and wounded first and ourselves second. In your mercy, make us brave again.
Make us instruments of peace. May we renounce every act of violence committed by our friends, our country, our enemies, and even ourselves. May we refuse to be weapons against our siblings and your creation. In your power, make us peaceful again.
Make us courageous, relentlessly waging peace instead of war. May we refuse to normalize acts that cut, kill, and belittle people made in your image. Help us hold everyone in power, politicians, police, pastors, ourselves, accountable to a standard of dignity and respect. In your justice, make us peacemakers again.
For those who have laid down their lives for others, for those who have been permanently silenced, for those who have led the charge but now need to pass on their torch, we step forward, doing what we can with what we have, trusting you are with us.
So just stay in this space for a moment with me. I'm going to sing Make Me a Channel of Your Peace. If you want to just sing it quietly in your spot along with me, you're welcome to do that. But just let's keep this prayer going. Make me a channel. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your healing power. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, holy light. And where there's sadness, deep, deep joy. Oh, Spirit, grant that I may never seek so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your healing power. Where there's doubt, true faith in you. Bring your peace, bring your love. We have a God who redeems, who takes hard things and makes beauty there. And so we just want to proclaim together that our God makes beautiful things out of dust. So if you want to stand and sing with us, you're welcome to do that. If you'd prefer to sit, whatever space works for you. But let's sing beautiful things, a redemptive act of our God who restores.
I wonder if my life could really change. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground. Out of chaos, life is being found in you. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. And you make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. You make me new. You are making me new. You make me new. You are making me new. You make me new. You are making me new. You make me new. You are making me new. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us.
Please be seated. We're going to pull over here for a little bit because we have some exciting stuff to pass on to you. It is now almost mid-September, and that means this is the start of the church year. And the staff and volunteers, they've been super busy planning all the things we're going to do this fall that we want to tell you about. These things that are going to help us be the church, these programs, these social events, these justice initiatives, these things that we can do together that helps us step deeper into that faith and spirituality that Jesus opens up for us. And so all of it is going to be online on the website, and it will get updated more and more and more as the days go by. So please go and do that. But a few things to pass on to you this morning. First up, we have our book club starting this week. This week? Yeah, this week. It's already the 17th. And we are really proud to invite you to read the book, 21 Things You Should Know About the Indian Act. Truth and reconciliation is a huge subject for us in the United Church, not only because it is a justice issue, it is a reconciliation issue, but also because of our role in the residential school system. This is something that we need to talk about, even if you don't identify as a United Church. This is something that we as Canadians need to talk about, that we as humans need to talk about. And this is a really challenging book that we're going to read together. So we're inviting you to go get a copy at a local bookstore. grab it on your Kindle, and we're going to meet bi-weekly on Wednesdays and talk about it. All the information is online. You can come talk to me afterwards, or Rob, I'm going to put you on the spot. Just stand up for a second, or you can talk to Rob, and he can give you some information about it. But you are all invited to get in on that, even if you don't show up to the actual book club. We do invite you to read it with us. Next one, please. And a little update for you on pub night, because I said we're going to have a pub night for all the 20 and 30-somethings. And then everyone who was not 20 or 30-something said, what about us? And so we needed to adapt, which is amazing. I love this. And so because community, inclusive community where you can belong is a really deep value of ours, we're going to have 2 ways. Anyone can come, okay? We have to put limits on things so we can market them. Just show up to whatever one you want. I don't want any more emails about this. But the numbers are all in quotations, okay? But if you are of the college and career age, if you are just figuring life out and you want to connect with people and make some friends, pub night, college and career is for you. If you are anything above that, but especially if you have kids, if you are busy with work and you're in that stage of life, the very creatively named adult pub night is for you. More details will come out very shortly. We'll put all those online and update you as we find a place. But we're wanting everyone who is wanting good people, good conversations. These are for you. So check those out if you are interested. Next one, please. And we're also going to have a weekly Bible study. But I know that's a loaded word and phrase. I don't like using that phrase because I don't think we're meant to study the Bible as much as we are to engage it. And so I'm going to call it Faith and Coffee. And so every Monday morning from 10:30 to noon here at the church, we're going to have a Bible study. And we're going to look at that week's Bible passage, the scripture reading, and we're just going to talk about it. We're going to say, what does it say to you? What does it say to me? And together, by talking about it, we'll leave there with maybe something to hold on to, but at least having gathered with good people and having had a good conversation. So if that is up your alley, if you've got nothing to do Monday mornings, everyone is welcome to attend that one. And lots of stuff with youth and kids. So if you've got kids or grandkids or neighbors and you're interested in inviting them out to something, check out all the information online. Kim, our children's ministry minister, wanted me to tell you that if you see some kids run around with bird feeders afterwards, because that's what they're making today, she's concerned that while it may look like they're made out of peanut butter, they're not actually made out of peanut butter. Because we know we have some serious allergies in the room, so don't freak out if you see a kid running down the room and you're like, no, stay away. It's all safe. We're aware of that, and to be welcoming, we don't have any peanut butter in the house. But please get connected. Sign up for the newsletter if you aren't already. Check out the website. Come talk to me or another leader here at the church. We want you to get involved. We want you to be connected and find something that is meaningful for you. But before we move on, is that a question? Yeah, I love this. Everything is just drop in. Yeah, we kind of design it that way. Well, if you come in at 11, we might be have started, but you can show up late. And if you miss one, you can attend the next one. It's not a linear type thing. It's just a ad hoc, come when you can kind of deal. Great question, thank you. But before we move on, we have a special announcement by our humble bookkeeper, Jeff.
Good morning. As Nick said, my name is Jeff Price, and I have the great privilege to be your humble bookkeeper here at Wellington Square. Just before I start, can we just acknowledge all the amazing work that the volunteers do around here? Nothing happens without the volunteers who get involved, the band, the greeters. They all do an amazing job, and we should really be appreciative for what they do. So I'm up here this morning to share with you another volunteer opportunity that you may not actually see in the day-to-day operation of this church. There is a team of volunteers who count the offerings every week. And to say that it's a team right now is a bit of an overstatement. So we're looking for many, many volunteers who would be willing to invest a couple hours every once in a while to help us count the offerings as they come in. Now, we've heard your feedback. We heard some concerns about how the roll was set up, the availability, so we have made some changes, and we're being a little fluid with regards to how we're doing it. So we're asking for a little bit of grace on your part as we try and make it work for as many people as possible. So what we heard was the timing to count was not convenient. So we're going to allow you to be flexible with your timing. Work with the person that you're assigned with that week. You can do it any time from Sunday after the services to Wednesday at the end of day. Great. Only do it the weeks that you are available. We're going to have a sign-up roster. Just sign up. You just want to do it once a month, once every 3 weeks, once every 2 months. That's fine. We also heard some feedback about the actual counting itself. So we've broken the roll up into 2 parts. The first part is the actual physical counter. So you can do this if you have a joyful heart, grace in abundance, and the ability to count without using your fingers and toes, right? The second roll, so that eliminates Nick right there, apparently. Okay. The second role is the data entry person. Again, we want you to have a joyful heart, grace and abundance, and the ability to find the any key on the computer keyboard. And if you can do that, then we would love you to join us, be part of this new, vibrant community of volunteers who help support everything that's going on in this church. If you're interested, you can do one of 2 things. Email bookkeeper@wsquared.ca. That will come to me. Or better yet, I'll be back there after the service. Just come say hi, say, hey, Jeff, I heard your announcement. I'd like to find out a little bit more, and we can talk about it. And please, if you're not sure, just come anyway, and let's chat, and we'll see if it's a good fit. And Nick, thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Hey. And so as Jeff said, it takes all kinds of gifts, all kinds of people to be the church, to make what we do happen to be a source of love and justice in the world. So knowing it all counts, it all matters, we're going to collect the offering. And this is for people who call Wellington Square home, for people who believe in making inclusive community, who believe in deep conversations, who want to try to make a difference in the world, one community at a time. And so the bucket is going to go around. Give what you can, knowing that it matters. But let's sing a song together while we do.
And oh, how you love us so. Oh, how you love us, how you love us so. And oh, how you love us so. Oh, how you love us, how you love us so. He is jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath thy glory, I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. And oh, how you love us so. Oh, how you love us, how you love us so. And oh, how you love us so. Oh, how you love us, how you love us so. Yes, you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love. Yes, you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love. And we are her portion, and she is our prize, drawn to redemption by the grace in her eyes. If grace is an ocean, we're all sinking. So heaven meets earth like an unforeseen kiss, and my heart turns violently inside of my chest. I don't have time to maintain these regrets when I think about the way that you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love. Yes, you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love. Yes, you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love us. Oh, how you love.
Let's say a prayer. And so, God, you do love us. And it's because of that love that we respond with everything that we are, with everything that we have. Giving it all to you so you can not only transform us, but also the world around us. Transforming it into the world that you want it to be, one where everybody has enough and everyone has a place. One where everyone can belong just as they are. And so we give, whether our money or our gifts or our presence, because we know that's where we become most alive. That's where we really become human. It's when we live to be servants of one another. And it's with that invitation, that call, that we think of the prayer that Jesus taught us to pray. And we pray it together saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. How are we doing? Are we still here? Can we keep going? Sweet. So we are about to start our fall sermon series that we're calling And through it, we're going to explore. It's good, right? I like it. We're going to explore all the parables of Jesus. We're talking about all those confusing, weird, strange stories that kind of give you a nosebleed if you think about them, because they just make no sense. Yeah, all fall kind of in and out between now and Advent. We're going to dive into these stories. And we're doing that because we want to make sure that we can address these kind of big chunks or themes in the scriptures or in our tradition. We want to make sure that we can address some questions that you can't really get at from Bible readings per se. And so throughout the year, you'll hear us doing different series, and sometimes we'll do some one-off things. But as we begin to plan out those, the worship team and I, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you're thinking about. What questions do you have? Maybe about the Bible, sure. Maybe about something that Jesus did. Maybe about the nature of God or some kind of spiritual, theological question. But even more fun, what kind of day-to-day stuff are you rumbling with? What are you wondering? And maybe it's a question underneath your question. But what is the spiritual question that you're rumbling with, maybe at work, or maybe about parenting, or maybe in relationships, maybe about your own healing? If you've got a question about that, like how do I heal? What do I do with my emotions? What does God want me to do in this scenario? Let me know, because those are the kinds of conversations I want to have. If we're doing stuff and you're like, that was nice, but that meant nothing, we're kind of doing it wrong. If it's not practical, if it doesn't have an application, if we just stay in our heads, that's not at all the kind of faith that Jesus wants us to practice. It's fun to nerd out on, but it actually doesn't have a consequence. And so if you have questions of consequence, if you have stuff that you're rumbling with, please let us know. But for now, for the fall, we're going to talk about the parables. But we're going to start, instead of getting into a parable today, we're going to start with a question that I always come back to whenever I read a parable. And it's like, why parables? Out of all the ways that Jesus could teach, why these confusing, nonsense-like stories? And even the gospel writers, they asked that question. And they would say Jesus taught so much in parables, he didn't teach any other way. Only parables. And you can see them asking, like, why, Jesus? Why parables? Why this? I don't understand. Just give it to me straight. And so I want to ask this morning, why parables? Why was this his go-to method of talking about faith and spirituality? What is it about our faith and spirituality that requires stories like these? What does Jesus see in them as the link between that and how to be human and alive in the world, about being connected with God, each other, and ourselves, about transforming the world? Why parables? And I want to do this because maybe the hope is that we can find a way to hold them. And so as we go through the weeks and we talk about stories like the prodigal son, as we talk about the unmerciful servants, as we get into some of the wild stories, we actually kind of know where they're trying to take us. We know what to do with them, and that might make them hurt a bit less. They're still going to hurt, but maybe just not as intense. And so I want to ask this morning, why parables? And to answer that, we're going to tell you a parable. It's a story about this guy who became obsessed with bread, and he wanted to know everything he possibly could about bread. And so he thought the best way to do that is to go rent an office space, and he filled that room with every kind of bread that you can possibly think of. He put in there all the best baking equipment, all the best flour, all the best tools, the finest yeast, the best salt, the best butter. And he locked himself in that room. And he was like, I will not come out until I understand bread. And then days go by, weeks go by, and then a smell comes out of the room, but not the smell of bread. And his family, they got a bit concerned, so they busted down the door, and they found him dead in the room, died of starvation, surrounded by bread. He died of starvation. While trying to understand bread, he missed the very point of it. It's a good one. I like that one because I don't like that one. Do you know what I mean? It hits a bit too close to home. It's got an edge to it because I see myself in that story. I am that guy. And I think in a lot of ways, if we're willing to admit it, if we can be honest here, we're probably all like that guy. I think it's a very human characteristic. I think in some sense, to be a human is to be an expert in missing the point. I think we can be really good at missing the point and being pulled out of the very things that we're trying to move into. Because maybe for you, that's intellectualizing beauty and wonder. And you see a sunset, and you can't help but be like, oh, the molecules are reacting against the sunlight. Isn't that fascinating? And you don't actually feel it. Or maybe you're like me, and you're like, emotions? They don't have anything of use to tell me. I don't need to feel those things. Or maybe for you, it's being so focused on something, this one grief, this one lament, that you miss out on everything else going around you. And you lose out on the very substance of life. Or maybe for you, you're trying so desperately, this is my story too, you're trying really hard to relate to somebody, you're really trying hard to forge a connection, but you won't be vulnerable and you can't understand why it's not working. And in the pursuit of the one thing you want, you're doing everything to pull yourself out of it. You miss the very point of the thing. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Have we been there? Yeah, I think we all have. We all have. Probably out of fear and anxiety, out of some trauma and some woundedness. What we do is we move to control. We move to understand. We move to manage. We work to manipulate. We want to know everything possibly about it so we're safe. We're going to be comfortable. But in doing all that work, we end up missing the point of the very thing that we want. The irony of it all is all that effort we're putting into trying to move into something ends up taking us out of it. And I think we do a lot of that with our faith. When it comes to our faith and spirituality, we're really, really, really good at missing the point of it. I mean, think of all the ways that we miss the point about church, about Jesus, about God. Oh, it's just about going to church on Sundays. Yeah, but you kind of missed the point. Oh, it's about knowing exactly what the Bible says. Yeah, but also more than that. You missed the point. I think maybe most detrimental to a life of faith, and this is how we've probably missed the biggest point of it all, out of fear, out of a need to control, out of some woundedness, definitely out of our ideologies and agendas, in order to feel safe, in order to feel in charge and empowered, we've turned faith into a faith about answers. I mean, how many people here would love to leave with a checklist of things to do in order to enter into the kingdom of heaven? I'd read that book. I mean, there's a multi-million-dollar industry exactly because of that. You want me to give you answers. We pray for answers. We've turned Christianity into a set of beliefs that if you believe these things, you are good to go. I think the biggest point that we've missed as people of faith is that it's not about answers. What we're doing here this morning, what Jesus is all about, what the whole thing is about, is not about answers. But because of our fears, because of our anxieties, because of our need to control, we've edited out mystery. We've kind of bypassed wonder. We skip over death. We refuse to hear the hard truths that unsettle us. And we've ended up missing the very point of what all of this is about. We've ended up pulling ourselves out of the one thing we're supposed to enter into. And what I think we've done really is strip the whole thing of its humanity. We've stripped our faith of its humanity by doing all of that. We've robbed it of the one thing that makes it one of the most unique, the most powerful, most subversive faiths out there. Because the thing is, this isn't about escaping life. It's not about denying our humanity. It's not about removing ourselves from it and creating a little commune out in the mountains. It's not about answers. It's about moving from here to here. And if our faith is about anything, we have a faith that's all about questions. Our faith is not one about answers, it is one about questions. And so friends and I have been talking a lot about this, and the more we talk about it, the more I become convinced that, yeah, it is a faith of questions, which is to say, it's a faith of living out of here, our hearts, our bodies. Because it's in our hearts, it's in the questions, it's in the that we actually step into life as it's meant to be. It's actually in the wondering, in the struggle, in the fears, in the emotions, in the connections, all those things we want to avoid and do away with. It's actually there that we become more alive. Because how many of you, and maybe with your partners or with your kids or with a friend, have finally just thrown down? You're like, let's be honest, let's be real, let's get into this. And you end up being really grateful for the honesty and the hard conversations. Yeah. How many people find the most liberating thing you can do? Right? There is something to not knowing. There is something to not having to control. There is something to not having to be in charge that actually releases us and creates space to move from here to here and actually tap into the kind of life and world that God wants us to have. Because I think you'll be on the same page as me when I say, because when you get the answer, sometimes, most of the time, all the time, it's actually not that helpful. Oh God, what do you want me to do here? Just love. What does that mean? Just love. Oh Jesus, what do you want me to do? Follow me. Well, what does that mean? Oh God, who are you? Oh, I'm like a landowner who owns a vineyard. What does that mean? Well, that's the answer. And like, okay. And so we think that that's the answer. So we're like, and we kind of collect all these answers and we think we're okay. But then when we have to love someone, or when God becomes not like a landowner, when something traumatic happens, what happens to all those answers? They're gone. They don't work. And if we ever find ourselves in a position where our faith isn't working, the answer isn't to throw the whole thing out. The answer is to ask a really difficult question that says, well, maybe I have my faith wrong. Maybe collecting answers isn't what it's all about. Maybe it's about something different. And I think what Jesus offers us, what our tradition offers us, isn't a faith of collecting answers, but a faith of asking good and better questions. It's about a faith that embraces all of our humanity, all the complexities, all the nuances, all the weird things we have to deal with and cope with, and is about how do we live well in that. It's about love. Okay, but I'm like still really angry at that person, so how do I love them? That's the right question. Oh, you need to forgive them. Okay, but like how do I forgive them? Like just once? No, 70 times, 7 times. What does that mean? Oh, that's the right question. And by getting better and better and better questions, what we find ourselves doing is moving more deeply and deeply into all the things that make us human and learning to live within it. That's what our faith is all about. And just take a moment to kind of sit with that, because that's liberating. You don't need to know. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to read all those books, all those podcasts. That pressure, gone. All you need to do is go, huh? Because sometimes that's the most profound question you can ask, because that opens you up. That leads you into some humility, that leads you into some curiosity, and it starts the conversation. Because what is a conversation but just a bunch of questions stacked on top of each other? I think this is why Jesus teaches in parables. Because he wants us to practice that posture of humility, that posture of curiosity. He wants us to know that it's actually about asking the right question and not getting the answer. It's about going into these parables that make us wonder, well, what would I do in this situation? What do I do when I keep forgiving this person, but they keep on hurting me? Can I cut ties with them now? Is that what forgiveness is? Is that what reconciliation is? I don't know. That's the perfect place to begin. Oh, what is God like? Is God like this? Is God like this? Is God like this? Yeah. Well, which one? Yeah. You'll find us doing that a lot this series. Yeah. And you're going to be so mad at me. But that's where it begins. Is in not having to know, but just simply yes to all of it. It is all of that. Based on who you are, where you are with what's going on, you'll find different hooks, different ways to the core teachings and wisdom of Jesus. And you get there through asking the right questions. Because the goal of it all, and we'll end with this, the goal of everything that we're all about here is growth, healing, wholeness, and transformation. That's what our faith is about. And all of those things are really difficult to do. And all of those things begin with asking better questions and letting ourselves go deeper and deeper and deeper into ourselves, getting better and better and better questions as we go, until we find ourselves moving in a whole new way. And so next week, when you show up for church, or when you tune in online, I invite you to come with that posture of not looking for answers, but being willing to be curious, a bit humble, and be like, oh, I got the right question. I'm leaving with the right question now. And I promise you, as irritating as that will be, it will take you somewhere more profound than if I gave you an answer. And so for the next however many weeks, 9 weeks or so, we're going to explore some parables. Next week, we crack open the prodigal son. And we're going to begin with that one. And we'll ask some good questions. And through it, we find some healing, we find some growth, and we find some transformation. So come back. It's going to be good. But until then, may grace and peace be with you. It's time to go. Still getting used to this whole two-service thing. The band's going to play us out. Stick around and sing along with them if you want, but if you got to go to what's next, please go to what's next. But it was amazing and good to be with you this morning. Thank you for being here. May you go in peace, may you go in love, may you go and do it loudly. And to that we say, amen.